What is up, everybody? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live. I am, of course, Ethan Newberry, your host, and today we are talking Boston Marathon. It was awesome today, and I cannot wait to talk more about it. Welcome to the chat room. Start typing away. Let me know what you guys thought about the Boston Marathon, because we're going to be talking about it all show. And we might be joined by Mr. Brandon Wood of The Gearist, who was on a couple weeks ago and is a great guest. Can't wait to have him back. Today is all about the Boston Marathon and some amazing, amazing stories. Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 11. Ginger Runner. Yes. Welcome, everybody, to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 11. I'm already into double digits. I can't believe it. Super excited. And I'm really excited today to be talking about one of the biggest marathons in the world and some amazing performances today by Meb, Jeptoo, Shalane. Everybody that ran the Boston Marathon deserves some huge congratulations. So I'm gonna applaud them from here, from my comfortable chair in Los Angeles, California. But they could be in Boston right now, hurting, suffering, laying on a bed. I hope they're enjoying a beer. They probably aren't, but maybe they are. But they put out some amazing performances today. Anybody and everybody that ran the Boston Marathon definitely deserves some accolades. I heard it was pretty warm out there today. It's been warm the last couple of years. I remember it being warm last year. Or I was layered up a little bit, but it got warmer as the morning wore on. So those of you who did run and finish, congratulations to you. Let's just get right into this. Biggest performance of the day, Meb Keflezighi. Absolutely insane. Watching the live stream of the Boston Marathon was, I mean, you can't help but get emotional when you tune in and you see him leading from mile 7 or 8, I think. In some of the interviews, post-race interviews, he was talking about pulling away from the pack around mile 6. And you got to wonder what goes through an elite's head when you're at the front of the field and you're feeling good and you're 6 miles into a race, which is only going to take you 2 hours and 8 minutes, by the way. But you're about 6 miles into the race, and you go, you know what, I can push a little bit harder, and you take the lead, and you keep the lead for the whole race. I started watching right around that point, right around mile 15 or 16 is actually when I started watching, and seeing him in first was like, yes, this is awesome. But then you get these moments of panic, and I even tweeted at one point, like, oh my God, he's got the lead. Will he be able to hold it? Because you don't know. You see these amazing races where marathoners, elite marathoners, go out there and they blow up later in the race, or something happens, an injury or something. Someone catches them, and you know, however the race unfolds later in the game. But in this case, talk about edge of your seat. You couldn't have asked for a better spectators marathon just to see those top 3 gentlemen finish so close together and Meb take the win. First American male to win since 1983, first American since 1985. Unbelievable performance. What did you guys think? Let me know in the chat room. There's already some comments going on here. And I want to bring on Brandon Wood. I have to send him a bit of an invite, actually. Let's see if he, let's see if I can send him a invite, get him on the show and talk, because both he and I were there last year. We were both in Boston, and bittersweet for sure. It was definitely, we were there for the whole weekend with Newton running, and I was documenting a lot of the behind the scenes, and it was one of those experiences where you're like, this is amazing. I'm witnessing history here with people getting ready to run this race, and being at the expo for days on end. You see people coming through with these amazing stories, and then of course the tragedies, and it definitely turned the entire experience a bit sour, just horrible. So going from that experience to seeing it this year and seeing everyone come back, Boston strong, wanting to take back that race and take back running in general, right? A lot of people had stuff to prove today, and it was really awesome, really inspiring. All right, so go to the chat room. We have people. Owen Hill did not get to see it. Owen, you missed a great race. I'm sure there's recap videos online, so you can go back and check it out. Just watching the last 4 or 5 miles is insane. Absolutely insane. And one thing that I noticed was while Meb was passing some of the female elites, because at that point the female elites start before the male elites. I believe it's by about 30 minutes. Depends on what that gap is. Now they change it, I believe, every year. But as he's passing some of these female elites for his finish, you can see them looking to see who it is, seeing it's Meb and applauding and cheering him on, because everyone wants Meb to win. This guy is 38 years old, and he pulls off a performance like that today. Absolutely inspiring. Amanda Rinn, just following it on Twitter, made all sorts of pumped. Belief, strength, and heart all the way. Totally agree with you, Amanda. Being able to follow that on social media is such an awesome way to do it. But it does leave a little bit to the imagination, right? So you're having to read these updates and then imagine it in your head, like, oh my God, is he 5 seconds ahead, 10 seconds ahead? Like, what is going on? So being able to watch a little bit of the live video feed is another way to enjoy it. But man, being there in person must have been incredible. Christopher Holloway, Meb is the fucking man. Awesome stuff. Heart rate at 185 during the last 4 miles. I didn't hear that stat. That is incredible. I think I've gotten my heart rate up to like 183, 184, and you can only hold that for a little bit because that's VO2 max for a lot of these people. But for 4 miles, unbelievable. You have to wonder how much adrenaline was just carrying him through there. And you could see him turn around, right? You could see Meb turn around and see how much of a gap there was between him and second place. And it went from a minute 12 down to 15 seconds, down to 10 seconds, down to 6 seconds. And then he still managed to make that gap bigger. He saved some sort of kick for the end. And I don't know if that was adrenaline pumping through his system or if he just saved it. Absolutely amazing performance. Edwin Cruz, hell yeah, pumped to rock my first full marathon. Edwin has a first marathon coming up. That's awesome. I can imagine running. Oh, wait, we got Brandon. Hey, Brandon.
Oh!
What? Yeah, look at this guy. Welcome to the show. How are you, dude?
I'm good. How are you? I'm well, excuse me.
You can be good, you can be well, you can be whatever you want.
Can you see me okay and hear me okay and everything?
Yeah, we got you. We got audio on you, we got video on you. So Brandon Wood, as I mentioned, was with me last year as well. Brandon brought me along with him to the Boston Marathon. It was just an absolute pleasure to be able to experience that weekend with him, of course, up until the horrible events. But both Brandon and I were there last year around the expo and meeting tons of people. Brandon, did you get a chance to watch the marathon this morning from Colorado?
I did. It was absolutely fantastic. I get so amped up watching races like that. And what's funny is that, I guess like 10 years ago, if you'd asked me about like watching all these endurance type events like this and nice, damn it, I left my beer upstairs.
Sorry. I was gonna wait to pop this until you got on the show. And so if you want to go up and grab yours at some point, you can.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, keep going.
I get so amped up watching like that and like the Tour de France, and even like I'll watch like more or kind of lesser known races like the Tour de France, thanks to Lance and people like that, has become really popular. But just watching these big endurance events and these athletes that are just even the ones that we assume haven't cheated to get there are just so at the pinnacle of their field. Just watching those things is so amazing, and knowing the energy of being at the start line of the New York City Marathon I've done and the Chicago Marathon I've done, and being at that kind of energy before that kind of such a massive race. I mean, when I did New York, I think it had 42,000 people the year I did it.
Unbelievable. That is a huge number.
Yeah, and it's so much energy because there's that many people for that energy to play off of. So, yeah, I did get to watch this morning, and I watched all the kind of pre-race interviews with people that weren't racing, like Kara Goucher was on at one point, and then the Today Show, I think Natalie Morales was running and all that kind of stuff. So I was jealous. I'm crazy jealous, and yeah, good times. It was amazing.
I agree. There's that little level of jealousy where it's like, oh, I just need to qualify so I can be a part of that.
Yes.
And watching it every single year, in the past I've been like, that is my goal. I need to get to Boston. Then there was this shift in how I've been running, and I kind of transitioned to the ultra and to the trail stuff and really just fell in love with that. But there's something about watching something like the Boston, or like you said, the Chicago or the New York Marathon, where there's these huge spectator marathons. London is another good example. Yeah. And it ingrains this passion that we have all come to thrive on. And it's like it's relit this fire inside me to really dial in training. I'm like, oh my God, I want to do Boston 2015. And if not 2015, 2016. And if not 2016, I want to do it. I want to qualify and I want to go do it.
Well, you know the great part about that is that the older you get, the
Yes.
slower the qualifying times get. So it's all good, man.
It's all good. But I always fear though, they did this a couple years ago. They continue to move the qualifying times faster. So when I first started running, it was like 3:15 for my age group or something. And I was like, oh, 3:15, I could probably train to do that in a year or something. And then they're like, oh, wait, your age group actually, it's 3:10. And now, oh, no, your age group's actually 3:05. We keep making it faster. And so every time they move it up, it's like, no, please, no, God.
Well, and
I just got to get older.
I agree. And there, that's an entirely different conversation that we could have if you want to. But there's the argument about the women's qualifying time versus the men's qualifying time and how that time is derived.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, and I hope that no one, men or women, takes this the wrong way, I think the women's qualifying time is too slow. Because it's a
about
solid
half hour, 36 minutes or something like that.
It's like I think it's a half an hour slower than the men.
Okay.
Or 35 minutes, or something like that. Whatever it is, I think it's too slow. I think that I don't know how to tell you to come up with that time. There have been people that have floated the idea of taking like the difference between the average men's finishing time and the average the winner finishing time and the women's winner finishing time, men's, women's, and make that the gap. Because then you'd only have, say, like the men's finishing time would still be, let's say the men's qualifying time would still be 3:10. Okay, like it was a couple years ago. And then today, what was the women's finishing time was what? Like 10 minutes slower? 14 minutes slower?
Yeah, it was 14, yeah.
So you'd have a 3:24 qualifier for that. And that's quick, and that's legit. I'm
sorry, it was 10. It was 10 minutes slower, sorry.
Okay.
Shalane was 14, but Jeptoo
right.
was 10, yeah.
I mean, I won't discount anybody's qualification, certainly. I mean, it's still an amazing accomplishment to do that. But either the men's open qualifying time, which right now is 3:05, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah.
Which is 18 to 35, is either that needs to be taken back a notch, or the women's time needs to be brought into a commensurately fast time. In my opinion, that may be controversial.
I think I have the same opinion, and I think it is also controversial. But I don't think that we need to handicap whichever way we're handicapping. If we're handicapping the women's time, or we're handicapping the men's time, however that's working, I don't think it needs to be there because I think women are becoming as fast as men. I mean, you're looking at the time difference between the elite male and the elite female, and it is only 10 minutes. It's you can take them and weigh them together, and you're like, they both are performing incredibly well. I don't think you need to handicap the women by 35 minutes or whatever it is. I agree, and that is controversial. I am not a woman. I am not a female runner.
Right.
Though I probably look like I have lady parts. It's just one of those things. I'm like, we should all be treated equal when it comes to that race.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that the men's time should be slower. I mean, I'd like to shoot for even when I turn 35, I want to shoot for the 35 and under time. Like I still would like to make that my goal time.
Well, I mean, you're only 18 now, so you've got a while.
I got a while. I just became legal to smoke cigarettes, so I can't wait to start. It's going to help my speed, I know it. Newbie runner, so I'm learning what is happening in the running scene, thanks to you. This is Kyle Mueller. Kyle, welcome to the running scene. All you have to do is open your front door and go outside, and you're part of it. So congratulations and welcome. I'm glad that you're enjoying Ginger Runner Live. Hell yeah, pumped to rock my first marathon, says Edwin. Edwin, I was going to ask you, what is your first marathon? What are you signed up for, and where is it? Christopher Holloway in the chat room is saying, so pumped watching it this morning. Then I lost it when he turned on to Boylston Street. What a moment for him. Right there with you, man. Honestly, when he starts pumping his fist, which at that point, you don't have much energy. I can only imagine how little energy he has to raise an arm and to pump. Amazing moment. Just an amazing moment to watch Meb win. What a cool moment. And yeah, of course, there must have been onions in my bed or dust.
Dust.
It was dust. It was dust. So just some stats. Brandon, I don't know if you are familiar with the stats from today's run. Meb had a 4:55 average pace. which is incredible, sub 5 average. Rita Jeptoo had an average 5:18 pace. So really, their paces were 20. What is that? What is the math on that? 23 seconds difference, which is incredible per mile. The second American to cross the finish line today on the men's side was Nicholas Arciniaga, who is a Flagstaff, Arizona resident, currently Southern California born, I believe, with a 2:11:47, which is it's incredible. It's incredibly fast. And Shalane was in 7th place. She was the first United States runner to cross in 2:22:02. And watching the interviews, the post-race interviews with Shalane have been heartbreaking because I look at her performance as it's over a 3-minute PR for her in the marathon distance. She wanted that win. She got 7th place. So she's super upset. Like, she's really disappointed in her performance. She's like, I can't complain about a PR, but I can complain that something wasn't right, or I wasn't performing my hardest. And it's like, you gotta be kidding me. You just dropped a 2:22, a 3-minute PR. That's pretty incredible. So it's been hard to watch the post race.
I watched, I assume you watched the race beginning to end, right?
No, I started at like mile 15.
Okay.
I woke up a little late.
So the kicker was that if you're watching to that point, and I can't remember where Shalane really kind of dropped off, but you're watching this, and she looked great. I'm not questioning it, and she's faster than I'll ever dream of being. But I was watching it, and I was going, it's not going to happen. I mean, Kim Smith, I don't know if you remember this, I think she's from New Zealand, this was a couple of years ago, and she took it out really amazingly. I mean, she was just blazing that race. And then right around the half-ish, she actually blew up, and I think it was an injury rather than Shalane's thing, which is where Shalane just kind of, as best I can tell, she just kind of bonked. I mean, she took it out so much faster, and it wasn't. What I would have loved to have seen is to see her be a little more tactical and just hang with the group and let the group do the pulling, because while you're not getting the draft savings that you are while running like you would on a bike, but you're still getting 8% draft savings. So let somebody else move that air out of the way, even though they're all like 4'11" or whatever tall they are.
Tiny frames.
Yeah, so tiny. I mean, one woman, I think it was Deba, who is like 88 pounds or something like that. So I would just let them move the air, and sit in the pack a little bit. She was racing from the front. You never know. I don't know what her plan was. I don't know if she's talked extensively about what it was, but I just wonder, because she did finish quite well. I wonder what she would have done if she had sat in the pack a little more and let somebody else do the racing, because she essentially went out and acted as a rabbit, as a pacer.
Agreed. It's interesting. She went into the race. She was talking about this in some of her interviews, talking about how a 2:22, she predicted, her and her coach predicted that could win Boston. If she ran a 2:22, she could walk away with first place. And then she also mentioned that she went into this race only wanting to run her own race. So she didn't want to run with other people running their pace or playing that game. She just wanted to run her own race, get a 2:22, and win it. So she did both of those things. She ran a 2:22. And she ran her own race. But was that the right way to play it today? I didn't watch the first half of the race. I don't know if women tucked in behind her or used her to draft, or at what point she got passed, or if there was a gap between her and second and whatever the group was. But yeah, you got to wonder if she had tucked in, saved some of those energy stores. Obviously, she could run a 2:22, but maybe it wasn't running the perfect 2:22 that was going to win it today. Maybe it was running the first half a little bit slower and then saving some of that energy to kick at the end.
Right.
So it's tough from our perspective, not being her.
Exactly, and it was great to watch. I mean, she still put on a hell of a show, and she looked so smooth, and it was kind of heartbreaking a little bit, like you said, to see her, who'd done so much work. And look, the thing is that it kills me that the woman set the American Boston Marathon record, number one. Number two, 3-minute PR, and we're sitting here talking about it like she just had the most disappointing, like she finished 50th, or something. That's 7th.
That's how she's acting, though, in all these post-race interviews, and it's so hard to watch, because in my mind I'm going, What you just did was amazing.
Yeah.
Was absolutely amazing. The new American female Boston record and a new personal record by 3 minutes, and she's in tears. You know, you're watching her in tears because all she wanted to do was win it.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's really, really hard. I will not criticize her on her performance because it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Um,
You're totally right. And I and we can talk about this later if you want to. I mean, it's your show. But what I'm always amazed at watching those guys, and I've noticed this in myself, and I'm sure you may have at some point, but from a running form perspective, is that you watch them run, and they look like they're just running a nice, easy, probably, I don't know, maybe 8 minutes a mile. It depends on obviously who you are, but they just are chilling, man. Just not, obviously they're working hard, don't get me wrong, but they look so much more relaxed. And I've noticed that in myself, that at times when I'm really trained up and my training's going well and I'm doing all my recovery properly, and you just become much more efficient, that I am personally much more smooth, and I'm ripping off miles, easily a minute faster than I was at some other point in time.
yeah.
And just much more at ease, and that goes for men and women. And they're just, I don't want to say they're not working, but they just don't look like they're working very hard. They're just kind of cruising. Meanwhile, if I tried to hang in for 1 mile, I would have a coronary at about half a mile.
Yeah, couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. 4:55 average, like 4:55
Yeah,
average.
right.
I'm lucky to be able to run that for a half mile, maybe even a quarter mile. I mean, that's insane. The pace is insane, and you're absolutely right. You see these guys run, and women, and they make it look effortless. They make a 6-minute mile look like they're walking.
Yeah.
It's incredible. In the chat room, Mr. Summer, congratulations on completing your first marathon. Someone in the chat room just finished their first one this last weekend, so congratulations to you. That's a huge accomplishment. The marathon distance is no joke. I have underestimated that distance, and it has bitten me in the ass. It's definitely tough,
Yeah.
no matter what level you're at, so congratulations to you. I'm extremely happy for Meb. What an awesome accomplishment. I think it's definitely a motivation that hard work pays off, says Keith Whipple. Totally agree. And he said something really great today. He said it's not necessarily about the 2 hours you put into your training. Sometimes it's about the 22 hours you put in recovery and how you handle the 22 hours after your training session. I'm obviously misquoting him, but the general idea is that, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's absolutely, I forget the coach, but not everybody, but the overwhelming majority of people these days are beginning to realize that it's all about you got to go fast to go slow. And I'll never forget when I first moved here, I live in, Boulder County, Colorado, and so this is where a lot of pro cyclists, runners, triathletes live, and Kara Goucher lives here. And a buddy of mine, he said that he went for a ride one day, and this is years ago, and he goes out and he's on this ride, and he gets in behind, he's coming up on these two cyclists up ahead of him, and they're kind of taking, my buddy and his friend are kind of taking it, not super easy, but they were just kind of cruising along, working a little bit, not really going hard, and they come up behind these guys that were maybe doing 12, 13 miles an hour. And they kind of blow right by them. They look over, and these guys are part of the Discovery Channel team. So these are world-class level, pro-level cyclists that are on a recovery ride. And it's no different. I'm just using cyclists as the medium,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
It's no different running. They are going so slow. And I've got RIP Sammy Wanjiro, but I ran by Sammy Wanjiro one year in New York on a workout run, and he was just, maybe doing a 9-minute mile around the bridle path in New York, and it's amazing to see, but it's that value of going slow, and the kicker is that people always want to be running, right? So
Yeah.
even if you're in like you have the larger recovery period, which is obviously days, and then you have, if you're doing it like an interval workout, you have, maybe you're doing 5x7, so you might go 5 times 7 minutes at 5K pace or faster, and then a 3-minute recovery, and that 3 minutes, most people will still sit there and jog and sit there and try to kind of run a little bit, but it's way easier. And I go, look, if you really want to recover, because then they get to the next 7-minute interval and they're still crushed out of breath, it's like, walk. Who cares? And I think that so much of that, and I know that I say this because I've struggled with this myself, is that it's all about that ego, man. I mean, you gotta. And I say that as a former opera singer. You gotta let go of your ego, and you gotta be willing to be humble about that recovery and get past. Every now and then, my coach will put a workout in my calendar that says embarrassingly slow, and every time I'm looking at it, I'm just like, oh God.
It's tough. It is the toughest thing, especially when you are a runner, or for me,
Yeah.
mid-packer runner. You do these long distances at a slow pace, and in your mind you're going, this isn't helping me get faster. Because as a mid-packer, you are constantly trying to get faster and get to that point when you can qualify for Boston. And when you run these long, slow distances, in your mind you're just thinking, I'm the slowest person out here. I'm being passed. I can't take it. I got to increase my pace. But you're absolutely right. So I just actually read an article about the same thing you were just talking about, where if you're doing these interval distances, some people say it's okay to run in between the rest periods, but some people say actually you should be walking, and then other people say you should be stopped. Like there's certain durations of these intervals where it doesn't benefit you to jog. It doesn't benefit you to walk. It actually benefits you to just stop altogether, and vice versa. So I don't want to say which distance you need to be doing which one of those, but
sure.
It doesn't necessarily mean if you're doing long recoveries to increase your pace or to run a slower pace for you. Maybe it means to really slow down, and you're absolutely right. Go embarrassingly slow, and that is so hard to do. It is so. It
is. I did this track workout, and I don't like track workouts, but I have made myself do a track workout, partially because I have a review coming up for the Skechers, the same shoe that Meb ran in today, but this is version 2. He's running now in version 3.
In the 3, yeah.
So I was doing a track workout in these, and I did a mile warm up, so 1,600 meters warm up, and then I did 5 times. I did 1,200 at below 5K pace, which is currently not what 5K pace used to be, but 3. So essentially 3 laps in a fast pace. And then the 4th lap was my recovery lap. So I did the first half of the lap just simply walking, and then the second half of the lap really slowly jogging. And if my heart rate in the first half of that recovery lap didn't get below, I want to say, like 115, if it didn't get below 115, then I kept walking until it did. Generally, It was about 111 by the time I hit that point, and then I could jog again. But I made myself recover. And it was actually, and I do not like track workouts, but it was a great track workout. It made me want to go, sweet, I have more speed shoes that I have to get on the track. So, it was all about that recovery, and you feel better. That's where, how often during a run, and maybe more often than me, but how often during a run is it that you feel these amazing endorphins in this really accomplished sense? Is it during the gutting it out part of a run, or is it when you've stopped for a second, your body floods with endorphins and oxytocin, and it goes, this is so amazing, when you've had a chance to kind of reflect. And even if it's that small, and this is a little, it's psychosomatic and kind of like psychological, even if you get a second to step back and go, man, what I just did was awesome for me. That right there, that little step, the next interval that comes up, you're going to be so much more ready to go. And it's no different on the bigger picture with your sleep or your recovery or a day off, God forbid. I mean, you got to recover. You got to go fast to go slow, and sometimes you got to stop to go fast.
Yeah, totally agree. And you brought up a good point as far as taking those moments to kind of to find that enjoyment and let those endorphins flood over you. And it happened recently. I did a hill workout with Billy Yang. I haven't done a hill workout in a while because I just run so many trails. I'm like, that is a hill workout. It's not. So Billy and I did this hill workout. His coach gave him the workout to do repeats. I think it was 8 repeats on a quarter to half mile hill at a certain incline, and to go at 5K pace. So I'm like, I'm going to tag along. I'm going to see what I can do. And excuse me, that is beer. So I pushed myself, and those recovery moments where you're running up the hill and then you stop and you turn around and you go so easy down, whether you're walking down, hiking down, or like real, just let your body kind of let gravity do most of the work. My body, like what I was finding, that every time I would go downhill, of course my body was just being flooded with this, you just did the fastest run up this hill you ever have. This is amazing. And you kind of look around, you're like, oh my God, this view is amazing. And like everything begins to get really happy and positive and amazing, and it's those endorphins that are kind of rushing into you. And I go on all these runs all the time where halfway through I'm going, God, this sucks. Like, this run sucks. Everything about this run sucks. And maybe, Ethan, you were just pushing too hard and you're not allowing your body to recover properly. Anytime I finish a long run, that's when I'm the happiest, right? When you finish something long. Maybe those chemicals, whatever that chemical reaction is, I need to enjoy that more. I need to incorporate that more into my workout. So if I'm running up hills, take a moment when you get to the top. Enjoy the view. Let those endorphins rush through your body and let you take that moment in and really enjoy it. And yeah, not everything needs to be all push, 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 and keep that heart rate as high as you can. Keep it in this sort of spectrum, for the entire duration of the workout. I'm rambling.
Let me really quick, if I may, and I'm sorry to interrupt you because I know you're about to say something awesome.
Yeah, I'm on a roll today with just awesome things.
But this is one of the things that I think is wonderful about the Ginger Runner channel, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass because that would hurt.
You can, yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll use a straw.
No, you're going to use a funnel. It has to be a funnel.
Okay. Here's the thing, is that the motto of your channel, Train, Race, Beer, right? And then every time you close out a show, and I'm going to screw this up, so forgive me, you say, train hard, race harder, party hardest, right?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the kicker, that you don't say train hard, party hard, and race hardest. It's not that, right? It's you're thanking your body essentially. And again, I hate to get all like Hare Krishna and let's look at all this crap, but look, you're thanking your body. You're allowing yourself to go, that was amazing. So I'm going to have a beer. I'm going to party. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to give myself a reward. Even if that reward is in the middle of your workout, like you just said, pause your effing Garmin. It's okay. Just pause it. Stop. Believe me, your tracking software will still pick up right where you left off, but stop at the top of a hill and look around. Yesterday I went for this run on this place called Picture Rock, and it's this Picture Rock trailhead. It was really cool, and it sucks because it's all uphill, and then it's all downhill on the way back. And I found two really cool, like off the path, like old stone cabin structures, and I went and walked around those, and I saw this old like plowshare kind of sitting in the middle of a field, and then like an old rock quarry with some circa 1930 like jalopy that's all rusted out, and it was just cool to go and explore. And I paused my Garmin, and my hour run on paper, which was an hour and 6 minutes, was actually something like an hour and a half, but I stopped. And I think what's great about everybody that loves to run, and this includes Ginger Runner, this includes you Ethan personally, but also the ethos of your channel and your website, is that you're telling people, thank yourself, take a second, take that break. You're not going to enjoy the training or the racing if you can't enjoy everything else. And at the end of the day, everybody's like, oh, I've got this A race, I've got, whether it's an Ironman or a marathon or an ultra or whatever. Whatever race that is you're doing, which do you spend more time doing? Training or racing? You're always, unless you're one of those crazy people that's a marathon maniac that runs like 58 marathons a year.
Right.
Those people aside, you're always training more than you're going to race. You should always be taking it easy and really rewarding yourself for those little victories, not just focusing on the big victory of crossing the finish line at Boston or the Hackensack Marathon or wherever it is. Reward yourself.
Hackensack, that's a good one.
The Hackensack, it's a well-known one. It's one of the world marathon miners. You need to reward yourself not just for the A races. You got to reward yourself for every single step you take out that door. Sorry, I digress.
Well, one, I appreciate you saying such kind things, man. Of course, you and I are friends, and you don't have to blow smoke up my ass, but that was very nice of you to say. And the whole reason why I came up with the idea of train hard, race harder, party hardest is I got to this place in my running, and this is a large part of why I've kind of transitioned into trails. I still love road. I still love Boston Marathon. I still love Chicago. Like, I love these big road races. I'm doing the Big Sur Marathon this weekend. Like, I love. Nice. There's certain races that I just love. But the reason why I kind of transitioned into the trail scene, into the ultra scene, is because there is this sense of community and there is this sense of reward no matter what level you're at. So the elites hang around at the end and will be there for people who cross the finish line last, right? They will hang out and they will high five you and give you hugs. In some cases, they give you the medals around your neck because they know that you are working just as hard, if not harder, than they are because you're out there longer than they are. And it's a sense of community. And what I found was it wasn't always about the race. It was about the sense of community outside of that race. And you put in all this time, you put in all this effort, you dedicate so much of your life to the training aspect of it. The race is such a small part. It has large significance to you because it is this wall that you have set out in front of you that you're working towards. You can climb over it and conquer it. But once you do conquer it, what's on the other side? You're gonna build another wall, another race down the road, and you're gonna train for that. But why not spend a moment in this whole scheme of training and working hard for your goals and enjoy it and actually embrace that fun and that happiness? And there's that sense of party hardest. I'm not saying go out there and get shit-faced, though you're more than welcome to. I have on multiple occasions. And with the train race beer, it's a distilled version of that. It's my motto. It's what I like to live by. I don't drink much at all, but after a big race, I'll have a shower beer. I'll drink a couple more beers that night because you put in all this training where maybe you don't drink, right? So you put in all this training, and I personally like that little reward at the end, and it helps me finish. And I definitely enjoy it. So thanks, Brandon. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
What I wanted to say earlier was about the shoe that you held up, and this was something that I noticed today, and I tweeted about it, and it's gotten a ton of traction on social media. People were chiming in. So Meb is sponsored by Skechers. Skechers shoes. They make their Pro line or their Go line has a number of running shoes which multiple people have sworn by. I have yet to try them. I need to because Brandon, you're one of the people who were skeptical at first, but you've tried them. This isn't your first Skechers review, right? You've done multiple.
No. This actually won't be up for a couple of weeks.
But you like them. The ones that you have tried, you've liked, yeah?
Yeah. In fact, a little bit of business. What size shoe do you wear? I'll send you some if we wear close to the same size.
11.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Done.
Great.
Done. Okay.
Awesome. Look at that.
Go ahead.
Business deals online.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So I've heard multiple things about these shoes. I had this mental thing in my mind of like Skechers being the shape-ups or Skechers being kind of the low end of just consumer shoes. I didn't even think of them as a running brand. But they have this Go, the professional department. Meb is a huge part of that. He's now the figurehead, and they have shoes named after him. So Meb ran in Skechers shoes today. Of course, the new Go Meb 3?
Go Meb Speed 3.
Go Meb Speed 3. Killed it, obviously. Won the Boston Marathon in these shoes. So there's this huge potential, marketing-wise, for Skechers to go, hey, this man just won the Boston Marathon in our shoes. This is pretty cool, huh? Go check this out. Maybe we're not crappy shoes after all, and we make some really good quality products. So the Skechers, the main Skechers Twitter account didn't say anything. In fact, they haven't said anything about Meb for weeks. I scrolled back maybe 8 to 10 weeks worth of tweets from them and nothing about Meb. Not a single tweet or retweet of their professional Twitter handle at Skechers Go. I believe it's just Skechers Go. So I pointed that out today. I'm like, you know what? That's kind of fucked up that this brand who has put all their effort and all their money into Meb and has these shoes named after him don't even give them any credit for doing something so amazing. On their website, I didn't see it, but on their website, I guess they did put up a banner. On their Facebook page later, hours later, they put up a banner. And then on the Pro page, they had been following Meb for a while. But the Pro Twitter account doesn't have many followers at all, which means that there's some sort of disconnect between the main Skechers Twitter profile and their professional profile because they're obviously not communicating or retweeting and getting followers and sharing followers. Finally, about 2.5, 3 hours ago, the main Skechers Twitter account finally was like, oh yeah, congratulations, Meb. And then they started retweeting people back saying, go to our professional Twitter account to see all of the Meb details. And it's like, oh, you guys embrace this amazing moment just on a business side of things. Like, you guys, this is a great opportunity for you to get your shoes out there and show people that you make good products. So it was kind of a fail in my opinion, but I think they have made the steps to try to recover.
So it's called, their performance division is called the Skechers Performance Division.
Okay.
And the feeling that I get in speaking to the PR person for that division is that they are trying to be very, very distinct. And now, but let me say this, a little caveat. I totally agree with you. As a brand, if they're wearing Skechers socks, you need to celebrate that. You need to recognize that. And I do agree that that is a fail. But I wouldn't necessarily. I get the feeling, and this is a lot of conjecture on my part, but I get the feeling that the person or people that manage the Skechers Performance side of things, both the Skechers Performance Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Skechers Performance, and then their Skechers Performance Twitter, which is, as Ethan said, Skechers Go. Mind you, by the way, guys, it's not a T in Skechers. It's just Skech.
Yeah, no T.
Yeah. But I'll tell you that when I first did my review, I did a review. We've done 3 reviews for Skechers so far. We've done the Go Run, the Go Run Ride, and the Go Run Ultra. This guy.
Let's see the tread on that, by the way. I want to see the tread on the Ultra.
It's not a trail shoe, by the way.
Looks like it could be. That looks pretty aggressive.
Well, so they say that their people have said to me that it is a good multi-surface shoe, and I agree with that. And we just published the review for this last week at Gearist, and the kicker is that we've done 3 reviews, and the first review we did was the Go Run, which is in the gear closet over there. And I said Skechers all throughout the review and in the text portion of the review. And before and I can't remember the timeline, it's not really important, but I got an email, and she was the person I was dealing with, super, super kind. It was nothing. She said, hey, would you mind adjusting the copy in your review to just say, instead of Skechers, say Skechers Performance where it's appropriate. And I did.
Interesting.
Okay. I said at the beginning, of course, I did say just Skechers. I said, these are the people of we make your ass look better shoes, of Kim Kardashian and Brooke Burke and all this kind of stuff. I did definitely comment on that in the context of Skechers, but then I changed it, and I got the distinct sense since then that they have a YouTube channel that actually is really brilliantly custom, and they've really worked hard to distinguish themselves from Skechers.
I can understand why. That's interesting to know, because I can understand why they would go about that. It's interesting to see that the distinguish gap between them, I guess.
Well, the other interesting thing is that they're not carried by Run specialty stores. They're currently
they're only in their own stores.
They're in their own stores, or like online, or I don't even think they're big box, but they keep their price. Their price point is incredible. I mean, even the Go Run Ultra, I think all their shoes are like $80. It's ridiculous. And you're right. I did balk at Skechers at first, and I wore the Go Run, which is kind of, I don't really know what to equate it to. It's kind of a faster trainer. It's not a speed shoe. It's not a racing flat like this guy. It's no joke. I mean, it's got a rockered outsole, and once you get used to it, I mean, it's great. And this thing flies. No joke. I mean, this is a great shoe. Yeah, I mean, they're putting out legit shoes, and I like it. There's one part of me, I do very much believe in shopping local, which is challenging when you say this shoe is great, go pick up a pair, because you're not going to shop local to get it. But I also think that it's kind of bucking the trend of you have to go and spend $150 at a Run specialty shop to get into your first pair of running shoes. So if nothing else, maybe Skechers Go series don't wind up being your go-to shoe, but at the same time, maybe they do. At least, if nothing else, they're an avenue that's a more affordable avenue via a brand that's got the customer service backing to be able to replace it if it sucks or it breaks or whatever. If nothing else, it gets you into running. I can't see that being the case, because I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy these, and you as well, Ethan. I mean, it's going to be a different, and we don't have to get into shoes, but the shape, it throws you a little bit. But once you get past that, I mean, they're making legit shoes. That's what it boils down to. It's not the structure. Like, we don't talk about the way the shoe is built or the shape. It's the fact that a brand that we know, again, who got sued for however many millions of dollars because it turns out these shoes, just by sitting on your lazy boy in these shoes, will make your ass look better, and lost, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that same company is now looking at legit shoes, and not only that, but they're looking at people like bloggers, like Run Blogger. Pete at Run Blogger has talked to people at Skechers and made suggestions, and and all of a sudden they're taking real people, you and me, and input, and at least if they're not listening to it, they're really kind of working on it. I mean, one of our testers, a female tester, and I can't really say too much, but let's just say that Skechers has a shoe in our hands that is not a produced shoe yet. It is not. It exists nowhere currently, and it's got. I mean, this is a shoe that's got pen on it from designers and builders. It is by no means a final production model, but the fact is that they're sending like prototype models to people because they care about what everybody looks at, and that is, I mean, Skechers is still, whatever you think of them, they're still a multi-billion-dollar company, but they're doing it right, man. They're doing it right for real.
Yeah. And that's actually what I've heard for the last couple of years, especially working with Pete, Rumblogger, who gave them tons of really amazing input on some of their early designs. And he has a whole number of blogs all about that, about the whole process of creating that shoe and having input and stuff. That's fascinating to me, and that says a lot about that company. I have yet to run in a pair, and it's only because they haven't responded to any of my tweets, but now I'm realizing it's probably because I was tweeting the wrong Twitter handle and trying to get a hold of the wrong people. But it's awesome to see them do that, and just know that you have a female reviewer who could potentially have input on one of their shoes. That's awesome that they're reaching out to people like us who are putting all these time in different shoes and know what works and knows what doesn't. That says a lot. So I'm excited to see where they're going, and I'm excited to get my foot in a pair if we can make that happen. That would be awesome. Just kind of jumping into the chat room, William Summer, Brandon, I have ordered a pair of Go Run Ultras for $63 from ShoeBuy. Great review on those, by the way.
Hey, thanks.
$63? Like, how can you can't complain about a $63 shoe that could potentially get you hundreds of miles of really comfortable wear. I mean,
if you hate it, you still spend $63 on a shoe that it's still just $63. It's, in the grand scheme, that's half of what I would consider to be the meat of the premium running shoe market, right?
I would agree. I would say 110 to 130 is the premium shoe market. I mean, there are shoes obviously in the 90 to 110 range that I love, and I think they're the best, but 110 to 130 is premium. I would agree.
Yeah, and I mean, and of course, when I reviewed the Go Run Ultra, which he's talking about, there are certainly things that I called out about it that are more personal things than just mandates on the product. For instance, it's a little cushy for my taste, tons of cushioning. I prefer a little bit firmer, but the kicker is that the material, the Resolite, which is kind of a hybrid EVA and rubber material, it's poppy. So even though it's cushy, it still gives you some back. I mean, yeah, they're doing it right, I think. Yeah. So anyway, sorry. Back to chat.
No, that's fine. Actually, I need to try those out because I like a little bit of cush, especially in the ultra running. When you're going those distances, 30 miles plus, that might be really nice. So I gotta check those out. Back into the chat room, Kimberly Mile Longlegs is in the chat room. Hello, that is my fiance. This is the first time I believe she's being able to watch live because she normally works on Mondays. So that's awesome. What's going on, Kim? Welcome to the chat room. Hey guys, are there certain courses that you have to run in a certain time so that you can qualify for Boston? This is from Owen Hill. And yes, and there is a list of them. I believe you can go to BAA.org, which is the Boston Athletics Association, and they have a list of Boston qualifying marathons. If they don't, then you can always go to the marathon's website. If you're looking at a particular marathon, they will usually always say we are a BAA qualified course. Example.
USATF.
Yeah, USATF will usually be the ones that qualify the Boston standard time. LA Marathon, San Francisco Marathon, usually big city marathons will always be qualifiers. I know the Chicago Marathon and New York Marathon are some of the bigger ones because they're flat for the most part. so they're really good for qualifying times. But there are smaller marathons where you can get really good times on them because they might have a net downhill where you can get good chances of Boston qualifying times, and they are also Boston qualifier marathons. So it's kind of strategy, right? You want to kind of plan out your year in advance to find out when that marathon hits. So you'll peak right up to that race. You'll get your Boston qualifying time, and you'll be able to qualify for the next year.
You can also qualify for Boston in an Ironman triathlon if the marathon portion of the Ironman triathlon takes place on a USATF certified course. So, for instance, Kona, the Ironman World Championship, if you were to run a Boston qualifying time, which keep in mind would still be a 3:05 if you're in the open age group category after having ridden 112 miles on the bike.
They don't change the time at all for an Ironman?
No, you'd think.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But if it's a certified marathon course on which that race takes place, then if I'm not mistaken, you can qualify for Boston. It's unlikely, but you can do that.
That's incredible. Joshua Stewart doing Koyamaka 100K again this year. Josh, I believe I am, yes. I want to qualify for Western, and that is the only race I believe on my calendar that would qualify. So, yes, because now Western States 100 has changed their qualifying standards, much like Boston, but it's a little bit different because it is a 100-mile race. Rather than using a 50-mile qualifying time, you have to use a 100K or 100-miler to qualify for the Western States 100-miler. So you have to run 100K minimum, and those races are on their website as well. So there's a pretty strict list of what races you can run to qualify for Western States 100. Anthony Bucci says, also, by the way, Happy Easter. Happy day after Easter.
Happy day after Easter. Happy Patriots Day.
Happy Patriots Day. Yes, because today's Patriots Day.
It's marathon
long legs. As a female runner who is nowhere near qualifying for Boston, I'm a firm believer in equality. I don't think either male-female time needs to be handicapped. That's awesome. I agree with you, babe. I know her, by the way. I can't just call a random person in the chat room babe. Even though Brandon, babe, you're my babe.
What's up, Sugar Pie?
I know that I will not necessarily speak for Kimberly, but she's definitely trying to qualify for Boston. She's gonna she has that goal in her head. She wants to do it. Even the chat room said that she wants to go and just watch the race. She is gonna do it. I know she's gonna qualify. I think sooner than she thinks, and her coach also thinks that same thing. So I'm really excited to kind of follow her progress. And until that handicap changes, it's still 30 or 35 minutes or whatever. And her time will be able to get to that level soon. I'm really stoked for her. So if she gets in, I'm going, and I'm going to watch, and I'm really excited for that. Nice. I bet she'll get in before I do. I'll say that. My first marathon is in 2 weeks, says Chris Bull. Chris, which marathon? Let us know which marathon you're running. Sam Garreau, my first marathon will be the Rock and Roll Marathon in St. Louis in October. Cannot wait. Sam, awesome. The Rock and Roll series, I've had issues with them in the past, but they put on good races in big cities. So I think you picked a good one. I think the St. Louis one in particular is good. So you're going to have a blast. You are going to have a fucking blast, guarantee you. Brandon, what was your first marathon?
It was, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but when I say what it is, you may remember our conversation. If you want to put yourself on the spot, feel free. It was the Shamrock Marathon in Virginia Beach. It was a shit show of a race for me, but it was my first marathon. It's a good race. It is dead flat with the exception of one bridge that you go over this part in Virginia Beach called Rudy Inlet, so it's essentially like a river. And the bridge is maybe 400 meters long, and you go over it once, and then you come back over it. And that is the extent of the elevation gain. I mean, it undulates, but in terms of actual bumps in the road, that's pretty much it.
That seems fun.
Yeah. It was a shit show of a race for me. However, I am considering, and this is where you and I have had a conversation, I'm considering
running it again.
For a purpose.
For a purpose. Maybe perhaps something that we are talking about today on the show.
Maybe.
And maybe it's something that we both run for the purpose that we might be talking about on the
Right.
show.
And it
Perhaps.
begins with a B and rhymes with Charleston.
Starts with a Q and rhymes with qualify. Qualify.
But
my first marathon was the Portland Marathon when I was 19, I believe.
Wow.
It was a shit show.
Yeah.
It was hard. We all remember our first marathon. So those of you who are running your first ones, you're going to remember it forever. I'm not saying you're going to have a terrible experience.
Right.
Not everyone who runs their first marathon has a terrible experience. In fact, many people have the opposite. But I do remember crossing that finish line and never being happier, like never being as elated as I was after crossing that finish line. So that is what you have to look forward to, and the party, of course, after. It was
also don't drink beer inside. Don't drink beer outside of 3 miles from the finish line.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. You want to keep whatever you have inside.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was just super hard. But I've gotten my revenge on that course since. And it took many years for me to do that, but I managed to go back and have an enjoyable experience on that same course, which I remember being easier as far as like flat was concerned, but it turned out to be much hillier than I remember, so much more challenging. But still, beautiful course. That was the Portland Marathon. Hey, Ethan, first time to catch you live. Great show. I just ran my first marathon, and yeah, I want to run Boston someday, says Tad Preston. Do it, Tad. Set your mind to it and do it. Look at Meb. He did it.
You can be Meb.
You can be Meb. Just try on some Skechers. He set his mind to winning. He's been through some tough shit in the last couple of years. Injury, tough races, having a DNF. But he's got an impressive resume, and today he pulled it out. Let's see. Patrick Hine, watching Meb cross the finish line got me even more amped to run my first 50-miler in 13 days. Patrick, damn, you're running almost twice as far as Meb. I don't know if Meb could do that. Well done. Well done. First 50-miler, I remember my first 50-miler, Leona Divide. Enjoy every moment of it. That's my best advice for someone running the first 50. I don't know if you've run ultras before. If you have, you pretty much know the experience, but enjoy every step of the way. You're going to go through dark times and happy times, and embrace those dark times and know that the happy times are just around the corner. An ultra is a roller coaster, and for every low, there's another high, just like the mountains that you're climbing. So just enjoy it as best as you can, and suffer to the end, man. You're going to enjoy that. And, enjoy the beer at the finish line, because those are the best. Tom, Walt Disney Marathon is now top 5 marathons last year, 26,000 runners. Damn. I did the marathon. Have you done any Disney marathons, Brandon? Any of the Disney World, Disneyland?
I've not, and every time, because there's a part of me that would love to try to pull off the Goofy or whatever, but then I remember that it's humid in Florida. But there's part of me that would like to do it. I think it's cool for the novelty of running through Disney World or Disneyland. I mean, I think that would be a cool experience. And if nothing else, it would be a cool experience for my daughter to be able to go there and like hang out with the Disney characters and all that and enjoy the day. Because I have to tell you, and I know you've experienced this with Kim, My Long Legs, but having someone that you love being there on the sidelines. I mean, my daughter was in July of 2010. My daughter was young, like when she was born in March 31st, and it was July, like the end of July, New York City Triathlon, and she and my wife were on 72nd Street where you're running across into the park and all this stuff, and here I come and seeing my daughter and my wife there, and it's not like this is an Olympic distance triathlon, and I was working hard, but it's not like you're at mile 24 of a marathon and you're a weepy mess anyway. This was like the beginning of a 10K, and it's not a huge deal, but I saw them and just went to pieces. And I think that would be so cool for them to, but for a 4-year-old, which she is now, to go and watch a full marathon, that's got to be something tantamount to going and watching paint dry. And especially with my time. So I think for that novelty, it would be cool to take her to be able to enjoy the day as well as see the race.
For some adults, it's like watching paint dry. Like that's what's interesting is people when the LA Marathon happened, a lot of my friends who I talk to on a regular basis knew that the LA Marathon was going on, and you see them on Twitter like complaining that streets were closed and just like this is bullshit. This is the worst thing to ever happen to me. And I'm like, what? Did you need to go get your French toast quicker? Like, I'm sorry I was running. But then you know that marathons that I have not run, but I have witnessed and spectated. When you stand on the sidelines and you see these runners run by. It even like at the Boston last year, for the short time that I was there at the beginning with you, watching the soldiers march to finish, it's like you can't help but get emotional because you know a lot of these people have put in the time to train, have put in all this effort, and are working their ass off to get to that finish line. And it seems so simple. You're running 26 miles. While the distance is long, it seems like there's not much to it, right? You just run.
Right.
But the truth is that there's so much that goes into it. Emotion, strength, perseverance, the ability to tell your mind not to quit, to tell your body not to quit. And that translates to ultra almost tenfold. And for Ironman, I can imagine it's the exact same for Ironman, tenfold, where you're putting in so much effort and you're spending so much time doing one thing. You know, you probably can't even help feel like it's a little bit selfish too, right? But having... Like during my first ultra is a good example. Kim was there. Kim was spectating, and she didn't know what to expect because it's her first trail race, like being at a trail race. But it's also my first ultra on a trail, and not really knowing if I'm going to see her and that kind of thing. But any time that I knew I would see her, you get emotional because you know there's someone else out there that's supporting you, and there's this whole sense of pride, and you don't want to give up for her as much as you don't want to give up for yourself, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
Somebody I know, this is a friend from a former company that I used to work for that I no longer do, so screw them. It is. I'm just kidding about that. But she ran today, and I saw this on Facebook, and so I'll read it real quick because I think it kind of part of it sums up part of what you just said. She said, "I knew it was going to be a bad day when I thought about dropping at mile 8. Started off conservative, felt great, then my legs were cramping and wouldn't turn over. I was going to drop at the half, but I couldn't stop thinking about that little boy who died last year. Then I ran by a survivor with one leg. Then I saw one with no legs. Then a blind runner. At mile 14, I shut off my watch, I pulled my head out of my ass, and I ran for what mattered most. Sometimes it's just not about PRs." I thought that was awesome. Well said.
Well said indeed.
Yeah.
And actually, on that note, we're going to wrap up today's show just because we are at the hour, and that's a damn good note to go out on. For those of you who are running marathons this summer, marathons this weekend, kick its ass. And know that there are people out there who would love to be in your position running it, so run for them. Have fun. And I want to do a full episode on continuing to have fun because I think a lot of people forget that why we do this is because it gives us joy. And if there's anything we can do to help continue to spread that joy, I think we need to continue to do that. Stick around if you want to in the post show. Brandon's going to stick around for a little bit. We'll answer all your questions. I saw a bunch of questions just get uploaded here. So stick around if you'd like to continue to ask us questions, perhaps about marathons coming up, ultra marathons coming up, training ideas, shoe questions. Brandon's obviously the knowledgeable expert on all things shoes from the Gearist, so make sure that you have any of those questions. Be sure to stick around for the post show. But again, it has been Ginger Runner Live, episode 11. Super awesome day. Really good adjectives, Ethan. Really good. Really great day for marathons and for American marathon runners. Meb killed it today. America. And what a great story that man has. And couldn't be more American. His story just couldn't be more American. I don't know really what I meant by that. I think I've just heard people say that, and so I'm just rehashing it, but it really is a great story. So you guys are great. Thank you for tuning in live and watching this episode. Don't forget we're here every single Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Next week will be a race report episode because Big Sur Marathon is this weekend, this Sunday. So Monday will be our recovery. I'm sure I'll have Mile Long Legs on the show as well as some other friends because I think we're all going to be around the Big Sur area. Brandon, where can people find you?
You can go to gearist.com. That's Gearist.com. On Twitter @thegearist. Facebook Facebook, I don't know, just search for Gearist. And then Biggie, and you guys were great after the last time I was on Ginger Runner. Go to youtube.com/thegearist. That would be wonderful.
He's got amazing shoe reviews, guys. And funny, you just posted your Patagonia Everlong review. I don't know if I saw the video version, but I did see the typed up version. Mine will be going up this week as well. We're like in sync right now, and I love it. The boy band. We're like the boy band. Yeah, we're the boy band.
Exactly.
So that's it for today's show. If you guys would like to, please, again, stick around for the post show. We will be right back. You can follow me on all the social networks, Twitter @TheGingerRunner, Facebook, facebook.com/TheGingerRunner, on Instagram @EthanNewberry, and, of course, GingerRunner.com. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, youtube.com/TheGingerRunner, posting reviews every single Thursday or Friday, and live shows every single Monday, plus race videos. There's going to be a Big Sur race video coming up soon, because I'm probably going to film it this weekend. Why would I pass that up? It's like the most beautiful road marathon in the world. Stick around, guys, for the post show. We'll see you guys in a minute. Bye. Really good dancing, Brandon. Your dancing was spot on. And when we do a show with two people, I realize that your little head doesn't actually pop up on the box, so you were just dancing for no reason.
I'll have to make some sound, because isn't it based on I'll snap.
That's all you got to do. That's it. You snap, and then all of a sudden Google automatically takes control, and you'll be on. So yeah.
It's also helpful to do the white guy overbite.
Yeah.
Hey, you said something right at the end that I wanted to. Oh, you did. I haven't done the Everlong video review yet, but I can't believe we're about to put them out in the same week. Sweet.
Yeah,
awesome.
Because I'm about a week behind now, in the sense that I was supposed to do my Nike reviews 2 weeks ago, but the Gorge 50K, 100K, editing all those films took so much time that I was like, there's no way I'm going to finish a review this week. So I had to post all those videos, and then I did the Nike, and so this week is the Everlong. Again, we are like totally in agreement on this particular shoe. I enjoy it for exactly what it is. I don't think it's for every type of trail running, but I do think, especially in Southern California, it was designed by an ultra runner who
Browning, right?
Yeah, Browning, who runs down here, San Diego, I believe, San Diego runner or Arizona runner. But he runs on trails from Southern California, so that's why I'm like, oh, this shoe is like perfect for Southern California trails. Semi-technical benefits, dry trail benefits, buffed out single track, like perfect shoe. It's like someone actually just asked in the chat room, Kinvara, what is the best shoe that resembles a Kinvara on the trail? And in my opinion, this so far has been my closest relationship between a Kinvara for the road and a trail version of that. There
was somebody, I was looking, kind of doing my homework, and somebody did a review of this shoe, and I forget who it was. It may have been I Run Far or something, and they did a side-by-side. They put the Kinvara into the review.
Oh, wow, really?
Well, the primary thing was the shape of the toe box, which is the toe box is great until you get to the
pointy.
Tip, until you get just to the tip, just the tip. And then you're kind of like, well, where the hell did that come from? It's like the fresh foam, right? Not to get off on shoes, but it's like the fresh foam. It's like
totally
good upper, and then what's going on the tip?
The fresh foam in my mind was a little bit less successful in the fact that upper for me wasn't quite as flexible. The Everlong I put maybe 60, 70 miles on the Everlong, and the upper is really flexible now. It's like it absolutely allows my foot to splay enough for my foot, but it does come to a point. It looks like a traditional road shoe, but it's strange. But the outsole is wide. Like the midsole and the outsole material definitely goes outside of my midfoot area. You can see it kind of come out when you're looking straight down. So it gives you enough stability. It was a surprising design thing. I don't necessarily consider it a flaw.
Right.
But I guess it could be. I mean, if it catches rocks, like you have extra room out there, why would you have a pointed shoe? Because I can't catch rocks. I don't know.
Well, and they've done it right before, the Evermore.
Which I have not run in yet, but yeah.
Right. So the toe box of that is great. It's very ultra-ish in its anatomical shape.
Interesting.
So, anyway.
Some of my new ultras, I was wearing the Paradigms recently, and that toe box is it is squared off. It is the weirdest thing to look down at your feet and see that. It's really strange. But if you look at your normal feet, it's essentially the same shape.
Right.
It's really, really interesting. Okay, let's go back through the chat here. Okay, a lot of people are actually chatting with each other in the chat room, which is great. I love that.
Nice.
People are talking with each other. I did the Goofy Challenge in 2008, and I will run my first marathon since in October, the Chicago Marathon. It was fun but hard. That's when I realized why so many people run half marathons. That was from Maryland. The Goofy Challenge is where you do all of them, right? 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon? Or is that
I don't know. I think that might be the dopey.
That might be the dopey. The Goofy, I think, is the half and the full.
I think so.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
If you do the 5K, 10K, half, and then the marathon, that's just the stupid. What's happening?
I'm just taking over. I'm just taking over.
That's just called the get your head checked, I think.
Yeah.
Doing all those in one weekend.
And I have a friend that actually did that, and I was talking to him like, I wanted to do that. I wanted to do the Dopey Challenge. It's expensive. Oh my God, it's like $700 or $800. It's expensive.
That's nuts.
Not listing the cost of flights, hotels, and park entrances if you want to go to Disney World afterwards. That's not included. So you're talking thousands. So it's the rich man's challenge. So one of the biggest downsides to doing the Dopey Challenge is that the 5K and the 10K take place on Thursday and Friday. The half marathon's on Saturday, the full marathon's on Sunday. So Thursday and Friday, you have to wake up for the 5 a.m. start time because they don't do the 5K at like 8 a.m. and the 10K at like 7 a.m. They do every race every morning at 5 a.m. because they want everyone done. It might even be 4 a.m.
So they can open the park.
So they can open the park because they want no one in the park while the races go, or they don't want any racers in the park so they can have a regular day of operations. It might even be 4 a.m. So what ends up having to happen is you have to wake up at 2 so you can catch a bus at 3 that takes an hour to get you to the start line at 4 so you can get into your corral by 4:30 for your start time at 5. So you're getting no sleep for 4 days in a row. So that to me is going, I never want to do the Dopey Challenge. Yeah, I never want to do that.
Yeah. You know, Mark Allen, who's a 6-time Ironman world champion, Mark Allen said something that I'm not even going to bother trying to paraphrase, but it was something along the lines of when you're accounting for sleep before a major race, whatever that race that is, in his case it was obviously an Ironman, don't even worry about sleeping the night before. Don't put that in the calendar. Just make sure that the day before that you get a lot of sleep the week leading up to it. Because the night before, I think the most I've ever slept before a major race is, before a major Ironman, is maybe 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not just the excitement of the race. I mean, like a marathon, it's even very little, aside from the fact that you have to get up at crazy early. But it's on the marathon, it's mostly excitement and things like that. But with an Ironman, it's like what are you gonna forget? Because there are a lot of moving parts there. So, anyway.
Totally, and I will say before any of my races in the last year, I think the best night of sleep I got the race before was before the Cuyamaca 100K. I have no idea how or why.
Really?
I slept for 8 hours. I was camping at the start line, and I managed to sleep for 8 hours. No idea how.
Mushrooms?
But
I mean,
it was mushrooms. I was taking a ton of mushrooms before. I was tripping balls. I don't even think I raced. I think I just dreamt I did. But yeah, every marathon, even though I'm going into marathons, not racing them, just kind of using them as training runs for these larger races, I would before the LA Marathon, I maybe got 2 hours of sleep. But it's that week leading up to it. I totally agree. It's the week leading up to it. Make sure you're getting full night's sleep every single night. So when the night before comes, it's okay that you're not getting a ton of sleep. Your body's going to stress out. Your mind is going to go, oh my God, you need to get sleep. You need to get sleep. It's okay. Like I've managed to finish a marathon on less than 2 hours of sleep, and multiple people have. It's okay. Or take sleep drugs.
There you go. That'll bode well the next day.
Yeah, that'll bode well the next day. Let's see. I ran the Glass Slipper Challenge at Disney World in February, and it was 100% humidity for both races. Ugh, that's terrible.
God.
See, Powatomi. Tip for running your first marathon. Do not plan on walking home from the finish line. 2 miles took 45 minutes.
Oh, dude. But have you done New York?
I have not done New York.
All right. So when you finish New York, you cross the finish line wherever it is in Central Park, and then you're in basically this chute that seems to walk your ass for like what seems like 63 more miles.
Oh boy.
Out to the place where all the bags are. The kicker is that there are fences. They're like 8-foot high fences on both sides with people in lifeguard chairs watching for other people going down. And then when I was there walking out, somebody did go down, and so you have this chute that's maybe 20 feet wide. You've got, again, 40,000 people, however many people are coming in at that particular time, jammed wall to wall. And somebody, when I was coming out, I'm not faulting this person, but somebody went down hard. They didn't just go down like they tripped or sat down from it. They were like going.
Yeah, wow.
And they pulled into this mass of people. They pulled an ambulance very slowly. So here are all these runners that just ran a marathon, are probably not in a fantastic mood, and are being funneled for another. I think it's seriously like a half mile or better to the exit of the park, and they want you to move over to the side. And there's no better way to do this. You got to get the person out of there so they can shove an ambulance in there. It was like, oh my god! It took like an hour, I think.
That sounds
or
terrible.
Close to. Oh, it was awful. Awful. God awful. And I tried to sit down at one point because I was just like, I'm just so tired. And they were like, nope, you got to get up.
Yeah.
Keep moving. They're like, you'll lock up. I was like, I fucking know what I'm doing. Thank you.
I always see that after marathons. You know, it's a nice thing to be able to kind of walk to a little grassy area and take a seat. Just kind of relax because you've been running for 3 or 4 hours. So why not be able to take a seat? That sucks. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
And then you have to get on. Did you get on a train and then take a train home?
Oh, so with me, it was very interesting. My hotel was at 8th Avenue between like 52nd and 53rd or something. There's a Hampton Inn right there. That's where we're staying. So the first thing is I wasn't. This is when I didn't live there. This is when I lived in Colorado. So the first thing is that I had to walk to the train. But the train should be right there, but they closed the train stations right there. Right. So I had to walk to Broadway from the park, which is 2 very long blocks. So I walk to Broadway, I get on the 1 train, take the 1 train down to 50th, or whatever, because I knew where I was. Then I had to walk uptown a couple more blocks to the hotel. I get to the hotel, I had time to, because I was using somebody else's room, I had to shower, get my bags, and then go stand on a street corner to try to get a cab to my buddy's place who lives up in Harlem. And I tried to catch a cab, so I'm standing there. I could not catch a cab for like a half an hour. So with my bag, I have to walk. So I don't know where I did. I guess I got on a train, then I got on a bus to transfer to a crosstown bus, get off and get on like the 6 train. I don't know the east side at all. Go uptown to his place, get out and walk up to very in this part of Harlem. I think it was like Lenox Hill. It's very steep, hilly, and I had to walk up like 2 hills, like big blocks.
It's very steep, hilly.
To get to his house, pulling a freaking bag. It was the worst thing ever. Maybe not ever, but whatever.
But that day, it was the worst.
It was the worst day. It was almost as bad as when Ethan's fucking LA Marathon blocked up all the streets for everybody. For everybody else.
Oh, you're damn French toast. William Summer says, no runner's rant. No runner's rant today because I felt like kind of continuing that positive note of inspiration and the love and the positivity today. I didn't really want to douse it with, oh, and here's what I hate. We'll continue his runner's rant next week for sure. But William goes on to say, road marathon runners my runner's rant would be, road marathon runners, how difficult is it to throw your cup in the trash can? This was actually a runner's rant of mine a couple of weeks back where it was throwing garbage on the road. When you run in my experience, I've noticed this, is when people run a road marathon, they think that the road, by being blocked off, is just theirs. So it's just theirs to do whatever they want. They're not really tuned into the runners around them. If I need water, they just beeline to the water station. They pick up water. they keep running, and then maybe they'll just throw the cup on the ground or throw the water. There's so little peripheral and there's so little outside world to them, and it's that big runner's rant for me. I see people eat a gel in the middle of nowhere and just throw it on the curb, and I'm like, oh, well, granted, there might be trash trucks or the sweeper trucks that will come along the course and sweep it all up, but the truth is you made it more difficult for them to get every piece of trash, and that might very well sit there for 2 years. You don't know. So it's tough. I hate seeing people litter. I just do. Stick it in a pocket, save it for an aid station, throw it in the garbage.
I was doing Ironman Wisconsin, and I don't remember when that was, but I was doing Ironman Wisconsin. I was on the bike, and in WTC races, WTC is the corporation that owns Ironman. In WTC races, you have a zone with which, like, say you're on the bike, you're not going to hit a garbage can unless your aim is really spectacular. So what they do is you have a zone where you can pretty much toss anything. And they have rakes, and they go out and they pick it all up and all this stuff. And if you litter outside that zone, unless it's by accident, of course, but even I've heard of people dropping, like having a bottle rocket and still being penalized for this. They will penalize your time. And if you're caught doing it more than once, they will take your chip. But there's this one section of the road, because remember, all races, even Boston, the race goes through people. I mean, Ethan, where we were last year in that town where we were cheering last year, there are houses right on the race course, and there are people literally that just go sit in their front yard and watch the Boston Marathon. Yeah. So this guy, the bike course went right past this guy's house, and he had signs. He's very nice, but he had signs that were sitting right there at the beginning of his property, at the end of his, and then a couple times, and it was probably 100 feet of property. And he's sitting in the driveway just kind of waving, drinking a beer, and had a giant stick, and it said, "Do not litter on my yard. If you do, I'm writing your bib number." And he had this big-ass stick, like if you did, he was going to take a 20-foot swing at you and try to pick you off the bike.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Terrifying, but awesome.
Yeah. It was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I don't like litter bugs.
No.
You see it sometimes in ultras too. People will think it's a road. They'll come for, that they're road racers coming for their first trail run or whatever. Well, they'll just throw it on the trail. You're like, there is no one that is going to come along the trail and pick up your trash after you.
Right.
You are responsible. So that definitely drives me crazy. Yeah. We have some technical questions. John Onate says, do you use motion title ending sequences? No, I use After Effects, and I use Final Cut Pro 7 for all of my editing. Just so you know, sir. Screw Disney, says Anthony. Screw Disney. People are talking about the price of road marathons and prices of road races on the increase. $185 for Chicago, not including hotel and airfare. Luckily, I have a job that affords me the luxury of spending that kind of money, but wow. I agree. LA Marathon is extremely expensive as well. I understand partially why, because the city makes it so difficult to put on events like that. This particular course that runs through LA runs through LA from Dodger Stadium all the way to the ocean. It basically runs down some of the busiest streets that would otherwise be just littered with traffic. So I can understand that there's a lot of permitting involved in that particular situation, as well as garbage and trash and all that cleanup. So I understand paying more for a big city race, but it's one of the main reasons that I also, again, transferred to trail races, because you're not going to spend more than $100 in most races. In fact, some of them are $50, for a full race, and you get this amazing camaraderie, really great aid stations filled with food. The difference is that you go to an ultra race or any sort of trail race, and the aid stations have food, sandwiches, quesadillas, soup, gummy bears, like everything. Road races tend to have water and or Gatorade, and you're lucky to have a goo or a cliff shot or something,
I mean, you're more on that thing. Is the thing to consider in larger cities is that, one, when it comes to trash, like you said, you're not just paying volunteers to pick up stuff. Yes, the volunteers are going to pick it up, but especially in a city like Chicago, the most corrupt place on the planet, I mean, you're paying union sanitation to pick it up, which is going to jack the price up by double.
Oh, good point. Yeah, very good point.
You're also paying unionized cops, and the cops are a lot of it. And I'm not saying this is not a thing, but the police have to be there to close roads, for crowd control in the case of Boston. I mean, there's added security measures, which was all too clear this year. And then the probably one of the biggest expenses is the insurance. I mean,
Yeah.
it's massive. I mean, if you go down in that race, they are responsible for you. So I think that's part of it. I mean, and by the way, let me just throw this out to you guys. As an iron distance triathlete, that an Ironman entry fee is $500, and then the fee that Active.com charges on top of that for the entry.
Yep. Totally.
It sucks. I'm not
sucks.
saying I like it. It definitely sucks, but it's also a detractor to those big races like that for me.
And you look at big relays like Hood to Coast. Hood to Coast is I believe now a couple thousand per team.
Oh, shit.
So if you have a team of 12 people, each person is paying a minimum of $200, I believe, minimum, to get on that team. And you also have to rent vans and provide your own food, and that's a relay event. So you're also dealing with an overnight, and there's a number of things that come into consideration there. So I do think that the race prices are increasing, but Brandon brings up good points as to possibly why on the back end. You also have to look at the sponsorships are being sponsored by big companies, so how much are the sponsorships worth? And it's interesting. It's interesting. That's a whole. I would like to bring on race directors and talk about that on a particular show, because these are questions that I've asked myself. I'm like, well, do they even make money? Do race directors make any money off the top of this? If they do, is it a lot? Is it enough to live off of? I might actually invite the Rain Shadow Running race director, James Varner, really nice dude, and puts on beautiful races up in the Northwest. Him and Kira Henninger, who's a local race director. I love her. She's fantastic. I should bring on some local people, too. I think that's a great future show. So good idea. Good idea for triggering that. $275 for a half Ironman, but hey, you get a swim, a bike, and a run, says Eric. Yeah. It's crazy. Rock and roll races are so expensive and have yucky beer, says L'Oreal. I believe they're mostly sponsored by Michelob or Michelob Ultra or some really shitty beer. So you're like, oh, I get a free beer at the finish, but it's water with bubbles and yellow.
Hey, the Shamrock Marathon in Virginia Beach, not that it's the greatest beer in the world, but it's sponsored by Yingling.
Hey, that's interesting.
Yeah, and you finish on the boardwalk in Virginia Beach, so you could, it's kind of like LA in that way. I mean, you could jump right down into the ocean.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Johnny D says, come to Chicago to run a marathon. Stay because you get murdered. That's funny. I love it. And Haig09 says, I just spent $95 on a half marathon. I've seen half marathons in that price range. My first half marathon that I ran, not my first race, but I ran my first half marathon a couple years ago, was the Disneyland half marathon, and that was like $135, and then you have to pay for parking twice, once to go pick up your bib, and then the other one to pay on race day.
Oh,
and
right.
You don't get any park entry at all, so if you want to go to Disneyland, you have to pay $200 to get to Disneyland. It's insane. It's just expensive. Races like that are just expensive.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll race another Disneyland race unless I become rich, which is not happening anytime soon. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up. I still have a lot of work that I got to get done. I got to get this Patagonia review done so I can go up to Big Sur this weekend. Brandon, when is your next race? I asked you this before, but what did you say it was? Not St.
It's
Ironman?
Chattanooga. It's the first year for Ironman Chattanooga. But I might do something here and there. I've never, as much as I've run on trails, not as much as you, but as much as I've run on trails since living here, I've never done a trail race of any sort. I've never done. I'd like to do something like just like a half marathon, maybe a 10K. Nothing. I don't want to go like 10K and below. Seems for me like I tend to go too fast. I might want to do like a half marathon or something, just on a trail. Nothing super hard or tricky. Just because I'd like to. I love running on trails. It's as you were talking about. It's just so. I don't know. There's just so much more time to kind of be with yourself a little bit. That sounded awkward, but
no, I jump on that too, and I'm talking about masturbating. A lot more time today.
There's
Congrats.
far more time to masturbate within a race. And speaking of releasing those endorphins mid-race,
Yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah. I
So
totally
yeah,
agree. You have a lot more time to kind of reflect, internal reflection and internal check-ins, and there's just this different. It's just different element when you're out on the trails than there is when you're on a road race. In a
yeah,
road race, you're surrounded by noise and energy, and that can sometimes help people a lot. It can really get those endorphins going and get that adrenaline pumping, and you can really be pumped up by a really crowded corral. And there's something to be said about that. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like seeing 5 people deep on the sidelines just fucking screaming.
yeah.
And watching that today in Boston, it just helps reinvigorate that spirit of like, oh, I miss that about road marathons. But there's also nothing like careening down the side of a mountain as fast as you can down the single track, knowing that you could fall and break your face open at any moment, and
Yeah.
you're enjoying every second of it. And you put so much trust into your body to do something so risky, so raw. I crave it now. I absolutely crave it. And if you race, I'm warning you, if you do one trail race, you'll probably do more.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it. I mean, I live in a good place for it. But I'll tell you, yesterday on the run I went on Picture Rock Trail here in Colorado, it's uphill and then you turn around and come back downhill. But what was funny is I passed this guy. I don't know where I was, but wherever I passed this guy, he was not in good shape. Like not physically in good shape, but just he was hurting. And he was coming down as I was going up, and he was like in that kind of, it's not really a run so much as a hobble. And so he was doing that, and I didn't mean to execute some schadenfreude on the situation, but I still had 10 minutes or 15 minutes to go up the mountain. And so I knew that by the time I got there, he would be probably easily 15 or 20 minutes ahead of me, and I wanted to try to catch him. So I used him as bait to kind of like have my own little race, and then I caught him about a mile from the end of the trail. And he was still hurt. It's not really fair. It's not like we were running the same relative speed. He was like, kind of like a zombie. He was like a walker. He was like, brains. And so I felt bad, but then I passed him and was like,
You can only feel bad for so long. Well done.
all right.
Good job.
Right. He had water. I was without, so whatever.
You're badass.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Very much appreciate it. Really, your support is why we do this kind of thing. It's the only reason, really. You guys are awesome. Thank you for continuing to support Ginger Runner, and don't forget to go visit thegearist.com.
Just Gearist.com.
I know, Gearist.com, but YouTube.com.
I should buy the
Gearist. You should just buy it.
Yeah, I should.
I have Ginger Runner and the Ginger Runner. They both go to the same place. So nice. Gearist.com, YouTube.com/thegearist, on Twitter @thegearist, Facebook, just search Gearist. Find this man, follow him, let him know that the Ginger Runner sent you. Nice dude with tons of info and knows his shoes inside and out. Guys from the industry, knows the industry, and speaks the truth. You guys are all awesome. Don't forget to subscribe. Both of those YouTube channels, youtube.com/thegingerrunner and youtube.com/thegearist. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us on the show again, man. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Always and forever. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next Monday, live at 6 p.m. Pacific. We're talking Big Sur Marathon because I'm going to have a medal around my neck. Oh, God, I hope I do. All right, we'll see you guys then. All right, bye.